After 31 days, we finally made it. Spider-Man No Way Home, the biggest Spider-Man movie of all time, one of the greatest things to ever come out of cinema, and possibly the movie that saved the movie theaters, given that this came out around the same time the pandemic was still around. So, in a way, this movie was a miracle. So while I will be talking about the theatrical version of Spider-Man No Way Home, I'll also be adding in from the extended version of the movie, and that's the poster that we're going to be sticking to as the core one, because let's be honest, it's awesome to look at all three Spider-Man at the same time. And honestly, I personally believe that this is going to go down as one of the most important superhero movies ever. Not only because it did justice for the multiverse, but it also was the last big movie up to this point, I should say, that people were talking about in the Marvel universe. It took a while for Marvel to pick up things. Now they're slowly building up to Doomsday and Spider-Man Brand New Day and all that stuff, but for a while, this was the last good Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, and it's kind of a miracle that it happened because the original plan, I believe, was that the Chameleon was supposed to be involved in this movie, and someone, maybe it was Tom Holland, who pitched the idea of, oh, I would love to do a movie where we have all three Spider-Man, and it was like teased, and then leaks got out of Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire in the Spider-Man suits, and I was like, are we gonna get all of them? And then the trailer came out and we had teasers of the Green Goblin, and then when we saw Alfred Molina's actual face going, hello Peter Parker, we were like, yo, we are going into the multiverse. And we were hyped all throughout this movie. Even if they didn't show Tom and Andrew in the trailers, we all knew they were coming back. It was just a matter of how it was, to many people, Hollywood's worst kept secret. And we didn't care because we were excited to see these guys all back in the big screen yet again. The movie kicks off right after the Far From Home credit. Really, it's the first minute of this movie is the ending of that end credit where Mysterio reveals to the world that Spider-Man's real name is Peter Parker. Him and MJ are on the run. Everybody is figuring out what's going on, and now Peter Parker / Spider-Man is basically a menace. However, he is not confirmed nor denied that he killed Mysterio or not. So he is roaming free, but at the same time, everybody already knows that Spider-Man is Peter Parker. We have a brief cameo of Daredevil, teasing that he is a really good lawyer. But the whole real story of this movie is, can Peter Parker really live a life now that everybody knows that he is Spider-Man? Because the whole school knows, everybody knows, Flash treats him different. He pretends that they were best friends for a long time. He even wrote a book called Flashpoint. I see what you did there. The big problem with this is that now that people know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, it's been hard for him to go back to college. He wanted to get accepted to MIT along with MJ and Ned, but they didn't get accepted due to the circumstances because the cities don't want to put their towns in danger with Spider-Man right there. So it is unfortunate, and unfortunately MJ and Ned also have to suffer the consequences because they are aligned with him. But lo and behold, Peter Parker asked Doctor Strange for help, and well, unfortunately, Doctor Strange no longer has the time stones, given that Captain America went back and returned all of the Infinity Stones to their rightful timelines. However, if the world forgets that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, that's also gonna set some consequences because nobody's gonna remember that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. That includes Ned, MJ, Aunt May, Doctor Strange, all of the people in Spider-Man's life. However, with the spell being changed multiple times, the spell got stuck. Luckily, Doctor Strange stopped it in time. However, unfortunate Spider-Man villains from other timelines, mainly two, got out, and well, we got a story here. Peter tries to visit a lady from MIT. The bridge in New York is being stopped by Doc Ock, who is looking for his machine. Peter and Doc Ock have a fight. It is Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, which it was like, oh, cool, this is amazing. We're going to see some old classic Spider-Man villains from previous movies. And I actually like this little detail that they added into the movie. And a lot of people don't talk about this detail. They picked one Spider-Man villain from every movie. Green Goblin from Spider-Man 1, Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2, Sandman from Spider-Man 3, Lizard from The Amazing Spider-Man, and Electro from The Amazing Spider-Man 2. That was a really cool Easter egg. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. So anyways, Peter and Doc Ock have a fight, and it leads with Spider-Man winning after the nanotech controls Doc Ock's arms. Just as Green Goblin arrives and is about to kill him, Doctor Strange brings Doc Ock and Spider-Man, and we find out that the Lizard has already been captured by Doctor Strange, and now Peter, MJ, and Ed are on the lookout for other Spider-Man X villains, some people that are from a different multiverse, and we're trying to be on the lookout for them. Now, in the movie, they had a part where Peter gets thrown some slime and he has to try to wash his suit, so then he just flips it over and it's a black suit, which I wasn't a big fan of. It looked kind of lame and stupid. I just kind of wish we stuck with traditional red and blue or red and black or something like that. This does lead into Spider-Man fighting off Electro, who starts off blue, but then we change him into a yellow lightning because now that he is in a different universe, his powers are different, and this is one of those things where we just have to go with it because Jamie Foxx was basically playing himself. He was no longer a nerdy with a ugly haircut and buck tooth. He was more cocky and arrogant and like basically what Jamie Foxx is today. And it just was like, you know what, let's just go with it. Sandman's also here. We don't get the actors coming back for Lizard and Sandman. In fact, it's just their voices. Again, given that it was the pandemic era, we had to work around a lot of people's schedule, and we also had to work around these actors not being available in person. So, like, even in the ending credits, they don't get, like, their names thrown in there. But anyways, we get all the villains except for Green Goblin, who is found in Aunt May's workshop, where Aunt May helps a lot of people who are struggling, homeless people, similar to the video game. So you kind of get where that idea came from. I did like that they actually try to give Green Goblin the iconic purple and green. I thought it was a really good mix, and I really enjoyed that part. Right when all these villains are captured, they all start learning that they're gonna die. Most of them, at least, are going to die, and there's nothing they could do about it. So, as Doctor Strange is about to send them back, Peter's trying to give him a chance to be fixed before they get sent back. Like, maybe there's a chance for them to go back. Doctor Strange doesn't want to do that. We have a fight between Doctor Strange and Peter Parker. At first, I hated the idea of Peter Parker beating Doctor Strange. However, the fact that he uses geometry or math to stop Doctor Strange doesn't necessarily beat him like in a fist fight or anything like that. He just uses math to beat Doctor Strange. So that was actually a smart way of writing off Doctor Strange and having him win. Peter's trying to fix the villains. They go to Happy Hogan's apartment, and Lizard just sits in the car whenever he feels ready. That's basically their way of saying we're running out of CGI, so let's just keep the most expensive one in the car. It was like, I love this movie. It's one of the greatest Spider-Man movies ever, but they do heavily show you that like they had to work around a lot of things, and it is unfortunate, but I'll give it like some effort, but there is a lot of nitpicky stuff. That was definitely one of those big ones. And also Sandman just being mud basically for the whole movie. They fixed Doc Ock, he's back to normal, he can control the arms on his own. And right when things were gonna go back to normal, Aunt May helps Peter fight off the Green Goblin, and it unfortunately leads to the death. And before Aunt May died, she talks about how, like, hey, listen, you have a gift and you have a great power, and with great power comes great responsibility. She gives the line to Peter Parker, and it unfortunately leads to her death. And it kind of feels like we kind of needed that reason why we feel bad for Tom Holland. Like, there needs to be consequences to why people know who Spider-Man is, and this was a great example of it. And it was a very devastating moment of losing Aunt May, because it was the first time that we saw her as, a role model for Peter Parker that wasn't just a hot aunt. Like, everybody always saw Marissa Tomei as, she was Aunt May, but she was hot. But now we kind of feel like she was being like a mother figure for Peter Parker, and her death really hit close to home. Even seeing Happy Hogan's face of how devastated he was, even though it didn't work out for them in the last movie. Well, they broke up in the beginning of this movie, but seeing Happy Hogan, like, that really took a toll on him, and it was just devastating. Then the biggest thing to happen, even though it makes no sense how Ned learned so quickly to start opening portals. It makes no sense, but we just went with it because this led to the return of Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. Their cameos were more than just cameos. They basically stole the rest of the show for this movie. I love how they brought him in here. They go find Tom Holland's Peter Parker. They have a good speech about the importance of, with great power comes great responsibility. Aunt May didn't die for nothing. We can cure these guys. Let's give it a chance. They are building cures. They're interacting with each other. They're interacting with the new kids. Ned is like, oh, I believe you had a best friend. Tobey going, yes, he died in my arms after he tried to kill me. It's so sad. And it was very funny. Basically teasing that maybe Ned could be the Hobgoblin at some point. I love that Peter talks to Andrew about, like, hey, you know what? MJ and I made it work one time. Well, my MJ, it's so confusing here. Andrew really hasn't been himself ever since the death of Gwen. He never even tried to find love after that. It was really good. I really love the interactions with the three Spider-Man. I love that they did the meme, that infamous meme of them pointing at each other. They kind of do it here when Ned calls him out, like, hey, Peter, and they all turn around. I love when Tobey shows off that he doesn't need web shooters, yet the other two need it. I love that in the Statue of Liberty, they're interacting with each other. In the extended version, they actually tease that they may come back at some point, so this might not be the last time that we get to see the three of them together, but I do love the interaction that the three of them had. What are some of the villains you guys fought? I fought an alien made out of black goo. I fought an alien in space. Andrew Garfield's like, I'm lame. I only fought a Russian guy in a rhinoceros suit. No, you're not lame. You're amazing. This was a big redemption for Andrew Garfield, but we all know that Andrew Garfield was always great. As we get to the final battle with, starting off with Electro, Sandman, and the Lizard, and I really felt that as much as we love Tobey and Andrew, we never saw them work in a team. Tom, on the other hand, has been an Avenger, so he knows a little thing about being in a team. So him giving that speech of, like, hey, the point is we need to work, take them all one by one, and they're working together. I love them using their webs, the pose that they have of the three of them. They eventually take down Sandman, they take down the Lizard, and they take down Electro. It was a great battle to see the three of them. And then Doctor Strange around this point comes back after Ned tries to close portals, but he just fails to do so. But the real big villain of this whole entire movie, of course, was the Green Goblin, who takes Tom Holland as MJ is falling, and Andrew Garfield gets his big redemption moment. I remember the theater was exploding, like, yes, Andrew got his comeback. He saved somebody. That was an awesome scene. And then him crying, it was so emotional. It was so awesome at the same time. I love that scene so much. But my favorite shot was when, as Peter 1, just so we are clear, fights off the Green Goblin. They go back and forth. And then, as it looks like Peter 1 is about to kill off the Green Goblin, Peter 2 comes in there and grabs the board from Peter 1, and they're just having a stare down. And this is one of the most beautiful shots of just him like, stop it, it's not worth it. I love that shot. And then unfortunately it does lead to Goblin stabbing Tobey, and we were like, no, he's gonna die. We were all crying. We were like, no, don't kill off Tobey Maguire. And then this does lead to Andrew throwing the cure to Tom. Uh, Officially, all the Spider villains are cured. All the Peters interact. Turns out that Tobey is gonna live. I love that he's like, am I dying or is that real? Like the whole, because of Green Goblin throwing a bomb into the spell, and now they all got stuck in the timeline. So the only other option is to make a new spell where the entire world will forget who Peter Parker is. Now every single person in the entire world will no longer know who Peter Parker is, and basically we start from square one. Right when everything goes back to normal, sorta. J.K. Simmons can't help himself and still rant about Spider-Man, but Peter goes to visit MJ and Ned and is ready to explain everything, but then he realized, like, you know what? They're better off without me. They can get hurt. It's not worth it. He just says, I'm Peter Parker and I would like some coffee, and then he just leaves. He visits Aunt May's grave one more time. Happy Hogan visits her at the same time. How'd you know her? Oh, through Spider-Man. Same here. And then that's it. So people know who Spider-Man is. They just don't know his identity. And more importantly, we don't know who's the guy behind the mask anyways. Peter has to move into his apartment. He's basically starting from scratch. And then he flies off, does his swing throughout New York in the snow. He has a different suit that's way more iconic and it's more traditional, which in a way this entire trilogy was a long ass origin story for Spider-Man. Even though we know the traditional Spider-Man origin story of how he got his powers, this Tom Holland Spider-Man, we never got to see how he truly embraced being Spider-Man until now, and I think that's what really saved it. There is still a lot of nitpicky stuff about the movie. Again, some of the CG doesn't hold up because they were working with what they got. Doctor Strange trying to grab the box from Peter, even though he's not in his conscience. We never explained why he could do that. We never explained why Ned has all these powers. Again, the rumors that he will turn into the Hobgoblin. In the process of all this, we get to talk about the post-credit scene. And the reason why I like the extended version actually has to do with the post-credit scene. In both movies, we get Venom in Mexico trying to figure out a lot about this Earth that he's in. But then he goes back to his timeline, and a piece of the symbiote gets stuck there, basically teasing that we will be getting the symbiote in this new series of Spider-Man movies, maybe even in Secret Wars. But the post-credit scene for the theatrical movie was a trailer to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and even to this day I always thought like it was kind of random that Doctor Strange has a trailer for his upcoming movie in Spider-Man No Way Home. That's the only reason why people went to go see Multiverse of Madness. And then to top it off, the movie was kind of a letdown. Not awful, but not great either, if I'm being honest. What I like about the extended version was that the post-credit scene shows you all the kids from Midtown High graduating, showing pictures of them, but Peter Parker is missing through all of this. And that kind of hit close to home because, like, wow. Like, we got to see everybody graduate, walk. We get to see the highlights of Midtown High's class, but Peter Parker is nowhere to be found, so that was very upsetting. And I hope that Brand New Day just delivers, because this movie did deliver. It has a lot of stuff that makes no sense, but to me, No Way Home did its job of making you care about this Peter Parker. And they did something that I don't think could ever be replicated like this. And they tried. You could say Deadpool and Wolverine did it. You can say that Doomsday is gonna do it and Secret Worlds will do it, but at least we could say that Spider-Man did it first. That's why I'm gonna give this movie an A. I don't think it is perfect. I think it has a lot of problems with it, but really it is carried with how well the writing is. Some of the CG is not the best. Some stuff is not written well. Lizard's disappearance midway through the movie made no sense, but it was whatever. It is an A. I almost gave it an A plus, but it's just like this one's pretty close there, but not quite. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed Spider Month. This was a great series to do, and I'm thankful for everybody who stuck around and sat through all 31 of these videos. Go back and watch them if you haven't. Anyways, take care, everybody, and I hope to see you guys very soon for another series that I plan to work on. Anyways, take care, everybody.